Hello, Christina with the turned leg. If you are new here, I am an antique and vintage booth owner. I like to thrift, I like to upcycle, I like to do all of the things. The last time I started a video in my car like this, I found a lot of good treasures, so I figured it was worth a try. Today, actually, this is the night before. Tomorrow is the very last Armada Flea Market for the year because it is the end of October, so it's getting chilly. I'm planning on going. And I'm hoping for some amazing treasures, and I hope you guys will join me for the last flea market at Armada for the year. So I'm going to get up crazy early. I told you it would be early, and you probably can't even see me in this video. I'm in my car. It's about 4:40 in the morning. It is 35, 36 degrees, so full winter gear. Pretty funny story. I told my daughter it was the last Armada Flea Market, and she's like, I have to come. So I'm picking her up from a friend's house early so that we can hit the road and go to the last flea market of the year. It's cold, it's early, but I'm excited. It took us about an hour to drive north to the Armada Flea Market, and we were bundled up. One big surprise is just how dark it was. Luckily, we hung out. This is an area where they serve food. We grabbed ourselves a nice hot drink and a breakfast sandwich, and they had their heaters going. So grateful for that. I can't even take video. But don't worry, we found a way to take video. Luckily, my daughter's cell phone helped to illuminate some things because we were not going to wait. There were people that were set up and we were going to get shopping. And luckily we did because there were so many good treasures early on. Obviously, filming was less than ideal, so you'll have to stay tuned to the end of the video to see all of the treasures I got. Most of them I got before the sun even came up. One of the things I was looking for was vintage Christmas items. Christmas items have been selling like crazy in my booth already, and I need to restock, so I was keeping my eyes open. I saw some trees. I also saw a container full of $1 Christmas items. You know I had to check that out. One thing I love about this place is there are always dollar tables. I mean, you gotta look, but you might find a treasure you never know. It really pays to go early to flea markets because we were determined to shop even in the dark. And this was the table that we were just so in awe of. Here's a picture later on of their setup. Of course, all the good items are already gone because I bought them. It really pays to go early, get the good stuff, and then you can calmly look for other treasures throughout the day. I couldn't believe how many things I got. Once again, stay tuned to the end to see. Here is just one of the items I picked up. And I will also tell you how much I spent. As the sun was starting to come up, I thought it was a really good idea that I grab my shopping cart because I might find even more treasures. A lot of the dealers hadn't even started setting up until the sun came up, which was different. Normally when we arrive, everybody is set up. So keep in mind if you're going later in the season, the dealers might not set up, at least not all of them, until the sun comes up. But I recommend going and maybe even bringing a headlamp. The Armada Flea Market has something for everyone. They have vintage, they have antiques, they have just household goods. Prices are from antique store prices to really good deals. They also have seasonal produce and baked goods. And I am a sucker for a vintage dress form. I have them all over my booth, and this one caught my eye. Pretty good price at $25. Also picked up that Santa because all my blow molds were sold, but at least I thought that would be eye-catching for my booth. It was a beautiful morning in Armada now that we could finally see some of the tables and the items. We had a lot more fun looking through. I was a bit surprised by all of the planters since it really was the end of the season. I usually don't buy off season because I'm not a fan of storing, but there were some cool items, but there were some winter items like these snowshoes. Unfortunately, the prices were more like you'd find at an antique store. We always love to check out the fresh produce at the Armada Flea Market. It's always a great selection from local farmers. This time, my daughter spotted a few new people that we'd not seen before. I got very excited by this. There was a bunch of vintage rugs, and they looked in really good shape. And the prices that I was told initially were good. Unfortunately, though, in my area, vintage rugs are just not selling in my booth. I have one in there and it's been there a while, so I decided to pass. But I'm curious, if do you sell any vintage rugs? How are they doing in your area? I did spot the cute little red half round table, but the price was a little bit higher than I wanted to pay, so I decided to pass. And even though it was freezing cold, it was such a beautiful morning. Kind of a nice way to end the last flea market for Armada for the year. One of the things I'm always on the hunt for is a little bit of comedy for my booth. The bathroom knocker. It sounds kind of silly, but having a piece like that in your booth will really get people to stop a little bit, read it, maybe snicker, put them in a good mood. So that was a cool piece. I'm always on the hunt for things like that are good prices. And some dealers were taking advantage of the cold weather. Some of them were selling jackets and sweaters and even heaters. Pretty typical of most flea markets, most items were not priced. But what I did find out is the dealers that had the prices on their items probably had brought them from a store or a shop because they were pretty much shop prices. For instance, this little canister or tin, I've been fascinated with them lately, was $5, pretty similar to what I'd be selling it for in my booth. The bed here was super cool, along with some of the pictures that were on it. The top picture is of Briggs Stadium, which was the original Tiger Stadium, I do believe. So that's a kind of a cool memorabilia for the local area. If you stood still for too long, you got cold, so you had to keep shopping. And although it was not as packed as I have seen it before, there was still so much to see. The glass doorknobs caught my eye. Believe it or not, we've had people quite often coming looking for these at Plaza Antiques. I also loved the little pedal car. A piece like this would definitely get people to come in and look at your booth. And since I love the look of wood so much, I love the live edge furniture. These pieces were reasonable too for your home. I was still on the hunt for vintage Christmas because I desperately needed to restock my booth. I had sold the two blow molds that I already had in my booth right after I put them in, so hoping to find some blow molds. I did find these, but they were just not in the best shape, and they also were pretty close to what I would be selling them for in my booth. I got super excited though when I happened upon this table full of vintage ornaments and shiny brights. When I asked the guy how much, he said $2. Silly me, I thought he meant $2 a box, but he was talking individual, which is pretty much what I sell them for too. So I had to pass, but maybe one day I'll find a whole box of Shiny Brights for $2. It was time to make one last trip through the Armada Flea Market before I headed for home. So I wanted to look over everything. Also, all of the dealers were now set up. I do want to mention one thing that really surprised me. A lot of times when I'm out shopping, especially to restock my booth, I don't always like to tell people what I do and that I'm reselling. But at the Armada Flea Market, a few different times when I mentioned I was a dealer, I was actually given a better price. So I guess it doesn't hurt to try. You never know. We had had a wonderful time, but it was now time for us to get home. So we loaded up the car and we said goodbye to the Armada Flea Market, but we will definitely be back next year. It was an amazing time, as it always is, at the Armada Flea Market. Let's take a look at what I got. One of my big treasures was the Santa, $20. He will look great in my booth. I also found these ladies. One is a music box and one is the topper for a tree. And everything that you're going to be seeing here, I only paid about $140. And yes, the ironstone trend continues, but I am finding ironstone. I think it's just like a case of now I know what to look for. I also found some really cool art. That's from Virgil Thrasher, who I wasn't familiar with, but information was on the back, so that was helpful. I also have this piece, which I think is from the same artist. I was just amazed. There was so many good things, including this grab bag. Those are always fun. I got them for the vintage wood ornaments, which sell quite well, even if they're only a couple bucks each. But in the bag, I had a treasure of this vintage Santa. Those I can get a lot more for. Kitschy Kitchen is also a thing. I found the cute purple cow creamer and a rocking rooster, because you need one of those, right? I think it's a planter, and the salt and pepper shakers. In my booth, bright colors are really making a comeback. Colors from the 60s and oranges are also very popular. So once again, I do not have prices for each one of these items. Each one was only a couple dollars, so much cheaper than I would even be buying them at thrift stores. These enamel dishes, tops and bottoms, are in excellent shape. Anything mid-century vibe entertaining is hot. There were just so many good things to find. Owls are very popular too. This looks like a homemade project and I love picking those up. And I found even more art. The nice thing about these two pieces is on the back, they have the certificate proving that it is authentic, and it gives the artist and the name of the picture. Once again, I spent about $140 for everything you're seeing, and perhaps the most expensive items were the Santa and then the brass pieces. The reindeer, I think, were $10, and so were the duck head bookends. But those items both are very hot near me, and they're selling quite well. I also loved the bright colored trinket dish or ashtray. Those are always fun to put out at the holidays. This little suitcase, it's a small size, but it's a nice size case and has lots of character. Also picked up a butterfly tray. Butterflies are popular. This was a footed planter and it was only a couple dollars. Once again, all the pieces you're seeing were only a couple dollars, which near me, that is so much cheaper than any thrift store. Most thrift stores, most items are $4 to $8 and up, right? In fact, there were so many items I couldn't even put them all out at one time to show you. And here are more items I found. Once again, not showing prices. Everything here was $140 that you've seen. This lady holds kitchen utensils. I thought that was really cool. I guess you could use her as a plant or a vase too. Found a bunch of ironstone. Just some cool pieces, and the prices were right. I think at the holidays too, setting mismatches out to show people how to set a table is just a good idea, and I think it'll inspire people to also get out their grandma's dishes and then maybe mix it in with like a serving tray like this. The lady also grabbed out the white serving tray that you're going to see. She thought it was ironstone. It was not. It was Homer Laughlin, which some people have told me they actually like a little bit better than ironstone, but this was a beautiful platter too. Really happy to have it with the holidays approaching. And this piece, I'm not just sure if it's a planter or it held matches, but it was really cool. And it actually said that it was hand embossed and it was from Belgium. So that just raises the price because it sounds awesome. Ironstone pitcher too. So I got very excited. There was a lot of ironstone. And I had to pick up a few canisters. The tea canister is new, but I love the color and wear. And copper always does well, coffee and sugar. So what did you think of my treasures? Overall, I was quite pleased. I was really looking for some Christmas items. I found them, but I also am gonna need smalls. Once I pull all of the Christmas out of my booth, I don't want it to be empty, and I got so many good deals. I also learned, obviously, early bird always catches the worm. You always do better first thing at flea markets. And if you're going later in the year, next time I'm gonna wear a headlamp because that way I can get shopping and I will be hands free. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought the best find of the day was. Now get out there to salvage, repurpose, and create.